Okay, my loves, hello. I don't know where this is going to go in the scheme of this video, but I just got the urge to make a video, and so I'm making it, and then editor Jen later on will decide where this is going to go, okay? So forgive me if it's all, the continuity, You know I need a continuity editor. But let me start with where I'm at. So this morning and this week, I have been winding up my latest round of manuscript assessments. So for those of you who don't know, every now and then I open usually 5, sometimes 10 places to assess picture book manuscripts. I don't have time to assess anything longer than a picture book, I'm afraid. But I do open up places for manuscript assessments of picture books. And I really love doing it. It's a lot of fun. And so what I do when I do an assessment is I do a track changes edit, which is a standard editing software that we all kind of use in publishing. And so I literally go through the manuscript and make suggestions for changes and where things can be improved and write all the little notes, and so it's a copy edit and a structural edit, really. So I do that, and when I'm doing that track changes edit, I'm also assessing really basic things like the presentation, the clarity, all the things that are going to help you as an author of picture books get your work across the line. That has always been my goal with anything I've done in Girl and Duck. It's not to advise people once they're across the line so much, although I do that as well. but the essence of Girl and Duck is for emerging authors and illustrators. It's to help you in that really crucial stage of emerging into the industry and into the craft. And so that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at a lot of things when I do a track changes edit. And then the other thing I do in addition to that, so you get a printout of that and you'll see all the changes that I've made and all the comments. The changes are in one column and the comments are in another, and you get to see the thought processes that I've had as an editor of your work. And it's a super, super instructive way to learn. But in addition to that, I also do an editor's report. And that is an overall discussion of the piece. And in that discussion of the piece, I break down the text into headings or categories. And so I will discuss really basic stuff at the beginning. I'll discuss the title, whether I think it's commercial, whether I think it'll work in design, those little things. Whether it taps into the essence of the story enough, or whether it's too superficial, or whether it could be more, there could be more alliteration or fun or humor or something catchy in it. So I'll assess the title, and then I'll go into things like the voice, the narrative arc, the character arc, and then anything else in there that really sort of stands out to me. As you can imagine, picture books come in many shapes and sizes, and the things that people tackle are quite different, and the way they tackle them are quite different. You might get a concept book as opposed to a traditional narrative, and so the way you do your editor's report is going to vary according to the structure and format of the picture book. But these key headings are usually apply to most things, perhaps not so much narrative arc to a concept book, but you'll still be looking at structural elements. And then I always assess the ending in isolation as well as its own little topic, because endings are crucial to the pleasure of a story, but they're also something that emerging authors often tend to, I don't think intentionally overlook, but what I like to say is that they often run out of steam, and so by the time they get to the end, they can do themselves a disservice by either rushing the end or not putting enough thought into it, or not getting an overview structurally of what's happening here, and appreciating how important that the way the ending is presented, how important that is to the success of the story and to the pleasure of the reading. So there are a few of the categories that I'll look at when I do an editor's report. So I hope that gives you an idea too, when you're writing, and that these are things that you can actually, at some point, not when you're actually creating, but when you've got your editor's hat on, you can come back to your story and you can look at it from these different angles and start to assess it. You know, once you've got some clear space in your mind too, you have to get some time and distance between you and the story before you go into this sort of editing mode. But it can be really helpful for you as a writer, and this goes across the board. It's not just to do with picture books, of course. Any fiction piece that you're writing, you can go in with it when your mind is rested and you've had some distance from the piece. You can go in and have a look at the narrative arc, have a look at the character arc, have a look at the pacing, you know, have a look at the humour if there is any, and the drama, where there are opportunities to up it, to increase the tension and those sorts of things. Have a look at the title, you know, even if it's just a working title, which it will be until it reaches a publisher. Think about that. Does it do you justice? So my head's been in this and I've been thinking a lot about it. As I said, I've done the last two of this round. I've been working on them this week and it's been lovely. In amongst that, I've had a couple of really interesting questions via email. Now, something that I really want to put out there is that I can't answer questions via email. It's just not possible. There's thousands of people on my mailing list, and I would spend my whole life just sitting answering questions if I was to start answering email questions. And some of the questions that I get are very specific. Others are people just want my opinion on things. And you know what I'm like, I love to give my opinion. So it's hard to resist some of those emails, but you know, I have a blanket rule. It's just not fair to answer one person and not answer them all. I just grabbed this. I just wanted to show you this folder. This is a printout of questions that I have had over the years here at Girl in Dark, and this was my Q&Q Friday folder. So Q&Q Friday was a YouTube show that I did, Questions and Quacks, where people wrote to me, sent in their questions, and I would answer them via a video every Friday. I would select a certain question and then answer it. And that was my way of helping, you know, of putting stuff out there for free to help and guide other authors and illustrators on their journey. And so there's a lot of those videos are still there, but you know, I know that it's exhausting to try and sift through them all if you're looking for a certain thing. But I do like to answer questions, and I do like to think that part of this YouTube channel can be, apart from just entertainment, that there can be something in here that is of value to you if you are an aspiring or emerging children's author. And so today I just thought I would quickly touch on a couple of things that keep coming up. They just come up all the time in my manuscript assessments. And in the things that people are sending me. So I thought I would just write down some little tips that I could share with you that might help you when it comes to submitting a manuscript, not to me, but to anybody, when you're submitting to any publisher out there. Okay, so just a second. I've written it here on my laptop, what these things are that I thought I might share with you. So let me see what I've got in here. All right. So I've written 5 picture book hints. Now, the first thing I want to say about this is these are hints, they're not rules. I'm never giving rules. I'm always only giving hints and my opinion on things, but these things can really help you when you're submitting a manuscript, and also, as you'll see, when you're working on your manuscript. So the first hint / rule is that a picture book should be 500 words, no more than 500 words, and 32 or 24 pages. Now, people will argue with me over this and argue with each other. We even had a discussion about it in Writers Group the other day, and most of us in Writers Group are very established and sort of been around for a long time. But at the end of the day, what we agreed on is what I'm always saying, is that this little hint or rule is designed to get you across the line. It's designed to get your work favourably viewed by a potential publisher. Once you've got your foot in the door and you're in there, I don't care what you do. You can write a 1,500 word picture book if you want to, a 42 pager, or whatever it is. I can't even remember the multiples now. But you can do whatever you like once you're across the line. But if you want to increase your chances of being read and not tossed aside, then please listen to this advice. Your picture book should be 500 words or less, and it should be 32 or 24 pages long. Now, number 2, what really feeds into this is, I've written here, paginate, for the love of God. All right? For the love of God, paginate. Now, I know that a lot of aspiring or emerging authors don't even know what paginate means, so I will explain. And I have memories of sitting with really well-established picture books authors nowadays, sitting with them in my studio at the convent, explaining physically what paginating a book, how it works. This is before I was sort of coaching and teaching professionally. So pagination sounds really, really swish, but all it is you just need to break your story down into pages. You need to imagine what's on each page. Now, this will change. This will change once your book gets across the line. Everything will change once your book gets across the line. But one, it's really important to paginate a manuscript before you submit it so that the editor / publisher can see or get an idea of how the story is going to flow. Now, a caveat, there are the occasional publishers that come out there and say, I don't want a paginated manuscript, just send me the manuscript. If that has been specifically said to you, then I would go with that. But if you're doing a blanket submission, then you should paginate. You should provide a paginated manuscript. If you're in doubt, you can provide both. You can submit a paginated version and a straight up version. But in all of that, don't skip pagination in your process, because pagination is part of your craft. As a picture book author or illustrator, pagination is as important as punctuation, as pacing, as character arcs, as narrative. Pagination is everything, because page turns are crucial to the success of your story. All right, imagine a story. All right, hang on a minute. So I've got this here. This is one of mine. All right, Clarice Pig Day Out. So if your story's not paginated, you're not going to get a sense of the pace and how things are going to look on the page. And so imagine if I put everything on one page. Like I said, my new chickens enjoy riding in my jar. He mixes his words up. But when we're nearly home, I hit a bump in the road. Bang goes the little jar and the doors fly open. My chickens run all around, up and down. All right, so I'm just running all the text together here as I read it out to you. It's awful. You can't access it. You can't get a sense of the beats. And there are beats to a picture book. This is where we talk about rhythm all the time. A picture book reads something like a song. It sounds something like a song. So if you're not paginating your work, you are skipping a major component of the composition of a picture book. So at the end of the day, pagination is not about your editor and not about your publisher and whether they want it or not. All right, that's a moot point. What is crucial is that you understand, as a creator of picture books, that you understand the layout of picture books and have an appreciation of that and have tackled that in the development of your story so that you can then read it. You can pretend read it. I always say in my courses on, picture books, please make a dummy picture book with your text all laid out and read it out loud and imagine what's going to go on each page. Okay, so that then you can get a really deep sense of how this is working or not working. All right, I need another password to get back in. But please paginate your work. Even if you're not going to submit it paginated, please do the work. Number 3 is format. So again, formatting funnels or dovetails into paginating. So look at how the text is laid out. Even in your Word document, look at how you've laid out the text, because that will give you a sense of beats too, and how you can break it because this is like poetry. So you're doing little turns and you're isolating words and you're formatting words into caps, and you're playing around with how you've laid the text out just in your Word document again, so that you can reflect the pacing of the story and the essence of the story, and you can highlight some of the themes or highlight some of the humor, whatever it is that your story is about. Use formatting and the way that you lay the text out to your advantage. Play with it, experiment with it. Don't just write a whole lot of sentences together. Break them up and put them into stanzas. Even if it's not a rhyming text, it doesn't matter whether it's rhyming or not. Please hear me on that. It doesn't matter whether it's rhyming or not. What we're focusing on with a PB is rhythm. So rhythm responds to formatting. So format your text to see how it's hanging together and to hear it, to give the reader guidance on how this should be read. Even with a Dr. Seuss, you'll see how it's formatted, There's going to be breaks and line breaks in funny little places in order to get that, to infuse the text with rhythm. So that's number 3, format. All right. Number 4 is a really basic one, but this can be really helpful for you when you're submitting. That you submit to a publisher needs to have a cover note on the front of it. This is for a number of reasons, but one of the reasons that I really think is really important is that a lot of publishers and editors will actually print out your manuscript so that they can sit quietly somewhere and read the hard copy. Now, if you don't have a cover note on your manuscript, that's part of the manuscript, they can lose who the hell wrote the book. All right? Sometimes people have their name in a footer, but it's not necessary if you've got a cover note. So what I refer to as a cover note, so there might be a lot of publishers out there who have a format or a template for the cover note, and yay to them. But to just cover yourself, a cover note should have these things on it. All right? It should have the name of the story, what it is, I'll come back to that, who it's by, the age range, the word count, and very, very important, your email address. All right, so an example of this, and this is just a one page at the beginning of the manuscript. So that would have an example of that. If I was submitting Clary's Pig Day Out, my cover note would say, Clary's Pig Day Out, in italics. Italics are reserve italics for titles only. All right, that's just a general style note across all of the publishing industry. Anything that has a title, the title is in italics. Don't go bold, don't go colourful, don't go anything else, just put it in italics. Clary's Pig Day Out, a picture book, a children's picture book, that would be the next line, by Jen Storer, lowercase b on the by, unless you're in America, by Jen Storer. Below that, ages 3 to 7. Okay, you see how you're guiding your publisher or your editor, that then you're showing them that you know what you're doing, you know who you're writing for, you know who you're pitching this to. Okay, so ages 3 to 7, they're going to want to know this stuff. You don't want it all over the place, you want it all in one place. And then words, so you put your word count in there, which might be 376, I'm just guessing. And then email, jenstorer@girlandduck.com. Okay, so these are the things that you're going to have in your cover note as opposed to your cover letter. The other thing that would be included in a nice cover note would be a very brief description. A very brief description, one sentence of what the story is about. So for Clary's Pig Day Out, I would write basically what's in the blurb, part of the blurb anyway. Clary is a farmer who sometimes gets his words mixed up. Super brief description, but puts you in the mind frame, in the frame of what to expect from this manuscript. I'm going to try and get this and write it on the screen for you so that you can see this example of a cover note, because again, this will save you so much angst if you just have this really straightforward approach that every manuscript you write, and this is the thing with children's authors, they write multiple manuscripts and it's really easy to get lost if you don't have a standard style guide to help you in the presentation of these things. So if you know that every time you submit a picture book, it's going to have a cover note on it with the title, the category, who it's by, the age range, the number of words, and the email. Bang, 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 bang. It's super easy. It really streamlines the process. So that's your cover note. So that's number 4. And number 5 is just a clarity thing. Cover note as opposed to a cover letter. So your cover letter, of course, is the letter that you send in the email accompanying the manuscript, but that's not attached or to the manuscript or part of it. It's just hi, I'm Hootie McFlutie and I've got this fantastic book for you. All right, that's where you show your personality, that's where you talk about the background of the book perhaps, all the things, or you say to the publisher, I met you at Kidlit Vic and you asked me to submit this picture book, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity, and blah, 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 blah. All right, so that's your letter. That's your letter as opposed to your cover note. And the letter can come out in any way that you think is fit. That's up to you. But it's really nice to have a standard template for your cover note so that all bases are always covered. I'm just looking down here again because I also just quickly, this is turning into a course, isn't it? I don't mean it to, but I hope it's helpful, just given all the questions that I've had lately. This is just something that I often see and have been seeing for years, and actually no one's ever asked me about this, but I think it's really important. I think it's really important for authors to understand some of the really common abbreviations that are used in the industry. It's the jargon, and it can really help you, and it can increase your confidence when you know what this is, and you don't have to learn by experience. So I just quickly wrote down some abbreviations or hints for a style, universal style. So P dot, lowercase p with a full stop, with a full stop beside it. P dot means page. singular. P dot, lowercase p, okay? PP dot means pages, multiple pages. So if you're referring really quickly, I had a look at the pages in the blah, 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 you'd write PP dot. Or if you're doing doing your layout and paginating, if you wanted something on a single page, you'd write P dot space 5. All right, page 5. This is what I want on page 5. This is how I see page 5. But if it's a double page spread, you would write PP 45. So these are really standard. So I see this a lot. I see people getting really tangled up with what abbreviation to use, and they'll actually, they'll write out pages to such and such, or they'll write spread. They'll often write spread, and then they'll get confused about how to write spread. Do I use a capital S or a lowercase s? So these sort of global abbreviations are really helpful. Again, I'll try to figure out how to do that, how to put up a little screen for you with these on them. So P for pages, P for page, PP for pages, MS is not Ms, MS is manuscript, singular. Lowercase m, lowercase s is manuscript. And you'll get this all the time from your editors when they're writing quickly. They'll say the MS is, the MS is this, the MS is that. All right, can you please send me an MS about blah, blah, blah. So MS is a really common one. And MSS, again, is manuscripts, plural. So all lowercase, MSS, manuscripts, plural. And you'll see that pop up all the time. Again, italics, reserve them just for titles. Just reserve them for titles, if possible. I know some people like to put illustrator notes in italics. That can kind of work, but I kind of prefer to put them in square brackets. But there is a standard across the industry that titles are always in italics. Limit your use of bold. Don't get tangled up with bold, all right? Especially in your cover notes and in your titles and stuff like that. Just pull back from bold, but don't be afraid of bold when you're formatting and when you're playing around. So if the giant spoke and sang, you might want to put a bold stop or something like that. All right, that can be a playful way that you play with bold, but don't overuse bold for emphasis. It's not necessary, and it just clutters up the text and it can start to look a bit ugly and clunky. And the other thing I just want to add to finally is don't ignore exclamation marks. I know that they get a bad rap, and I know that exclamation marks, certainly in longer pieces, you need to be very, very discerning about how many you use and where you use them. We don't want to be writing like Enid Blyton, okay? We don't want an exclamation mark at the end of every sentence. But in a picture book, sometimes I see this. I think people are afraid to use an exclamation mark, and it really, the text is just crying out for it. So don't hold back. If you can sense that someone's speaking loudly or someone just got a big shock, you've only got 500 words or less to play with. So exclamation marks can be your friend. I'm not saying scatter them throughout the story. I know you're hearing me on this. Be discerning, but don't throw them out, because that's throwing the baby out with the bathwater. So I hope those few little things have helped you. As I said, when I go in to edit this, I will try to put all this onto some kind of screen so that you can see it all spelt out for you. But these are the things, these are very common things that I come up against when I'm doing assessments, when I'm helping people clean up their manuscripts for submissions, when I'm editing work for people and friends. These are very common things that I come across, and it's just good to get them out there. I know that most of this stuff I've probably already put out there in one shape or another. There's probably a lot of this sort of stuff in my courses as well. But sometimes we just need little chunks of information in isolation. And also, established authors sometimes don't even know some of these things. They kind of feel like they're bumbling forward a little bit as well. So these are lovely little touch points for us to come back to and to consider and to help us on our way.